Salutations everyone, and welcome to Brainy Previews, Boss Constructor by Mirko Seithe. Boss Constructor is a sandbox space combat simulator with a heavy emphasis on customization. Now, before we get to do anything else, let's see how we can customize our video settings, shall we? We can see that he actually gives a decent amount of options for this two-dimensional game. Anti-aliasing, gamma, textures, shades, V-sync, which I don't know why I have it on. I'm going to turn it off, although most of the options require the game to be restarted, but that's just normal. Camera distances, render distance, or grids to render, screen shake, alternative mouse cursor, if you're so inclined to that, and that's so graphically demanding. Audio is fully customizable with 3 separate tracks. Unfortunately, I have music on its lowest. I'd prefer it if there were maybe a few more levels of that, but that's just a personal preference of mine. And a few miscellaneous things. Now, inputs. This is a space combat simulator, and with that, you tend to need a lot of customization. Now, that handles more for 3-dimensional space combats. This is a 2-dimensional one. But what it needs all this customization for is the fact that you can customize your ship to do a lot of different things. You could have it open and close. You could have it have multiple sections and layers, having all the guns bound to certain keys, or certain guns bound to other keys, having thrusters bound to other keys. This is a game about giving you freedom to explore and the freedom to do whatever the heck you want with your current starship. And with that, it gives you a lot of options to bind and set up the control scheme. As such, I'd highly recommend, even though this game apparently claims to be able to be played by a controller, I'd highly recommend you use a keyboard, because it'd be much easier to do it that way. At least, if you pay very close attention to the main menu, this will say keyboard/controller settings. I would highly recommend not using a controller. Now, the primary emphasis of this game is the entire customization aspect of it. You see, all ships in this game require power. Power is generated by the solar panels and other such energy generation devices that you can find within the game. But power generation alone is of course not enough to run a ship. You need things to allow you to move, thrusters in this case, or uber-efficient fission rockets, in order to pilot your ship around the stars. In line with that, those power generation units provide power to the thrusters, allowing your ship to move in which direction it wishes. And the game's engine is actually good enough to actually automatically determine how you want to move. Like, if I wanted to turn left, it would, if I wanted to turn or rotate towards the left, it would activate the bottom right and top left thruster in order to spin your ship in that direction. Now, of course, the story behind this game, which we'll get into when we actually go to the exploration mission, is that there are other ships out there trying to kill you, essentially. Now, the best way to protect yourself from being destroyed is to apply armor, which of course adds weight, which requires more thrusters or extremely efficient fission missiles in order to propel yourself further through the depths of space with some amount of protection. However, providing armor is not enough. To maintain that armor, you can have automatic repair systems, but you also need ways to damage and destroy your opponent's ships as you encounter them. Simply put, the weapon systems that you also provide power to, and their modifications like auto-loaders and range extenders. And in all this, and a bunch of other weapons such as mine layers, long-range rockets, simply flat-out ramming enemy vessels if you can shove enough armor onto something, you can do a lot of things in this game because of this. But we're not going to mess with our ship just yet. In fact, I'm going to go to the exploration. And I'm going to go to test 2, that's just a moderate difficulty setup that I've already have. Like, I've already been running this campaign. Now, the campaign is randomly generated. The galaxy is also pseudo-randomly generated, with the planet systems being generated, the missions being generated, the enemies you fight being automatically generated. And the enemies not really scaling, it's just more of the new zones you enter have differently strengthened enemies compared to older areas. And as you advance, you're to build up a strong, in fact, one might say a boss-level ship, if one will, in order to go take on the von Neumann probe threat. As the actual story goes, that mankind was exploring the stars, once again trying to search for other life, and unfortunately, we didn't find any. No, we didn't find much life, but we found their remnants, the von Neumann probes. At least that's to my expectation. So, we're going to look for something to fight. In fact, I think we're going to go deal with this very easy mission for the purposes of this Let's Play. For the purposes of this preview. Now, all of these... Oh, well, we'll go into that later.
Begin mission.
The von Neumann have set up automated factories and we also have to destroy enemy ships. Now, my ship is fairly powerful for what we currently have. Like, versus these opponents, it should be no problem. And as you can see, things are actually fairly smooth working here. Like, the game runs incredibly well for this, in that there's no lag between inputs. It gives you a good display of information so you know exactly what you're doing at all times. I'm gonna try to have this all impact on my armor, as I'm basically going to try to get into a position where I can actually make use of my hyper-efficient energy absorber, which is another way to gather energy, which is just simply stealing it from your opponent. And thankfully, you can destroy individual pieces of enemy ships, which will cause the ship to react how you basically expect an enemy ship to react as it's being destroyed. Like, as weapons are being blown off, the enemy ship can no longer fire as many guns. As their power is being drained, they're able to utilize less and less of the ship. And this is probably going to be incredibly loud in recording, I realize, but unfortunately I can't drop the volume any lower, so I'm just going to have to deal with it. And as you can see, we're actually generating enough. We're generating enough power where it honestly doesn't matter what they send our way. But furthermore, we're also stealing enough power from their ships where they can't really fly against us. As you can see, many of the missions we're fighting see that most of the opponents that we fight aren't very powerful at this point in time, if that makes any sense, because we are somewhat later into the story. Now I'm going to go deal with this because this secondary objective, which is important to the completion of the campaign, with a favorable outcome, and you'll see why when we get back to the campaign screen, is that I have to destroy this auto-fabricator. Now you can see those little bits of sparkling glowing bits, those are actually shields. I'm going to destroy these right now before this becomes an issue. Yeah, this takes a while because these ships are usually heavily armored. I'm not gonna lie. But when it's destroyed, it remains destroyed. Now, you hear these things about module technologies acquired. It's that, simply put, we're discovering more stuff. And that'll be explained later when we go to the research aspect of it, which is how you acquire more parts to use. And you can see that this is also a somewhat physics-based game, in that every action is an equal opposite reaction. I'm firing a very powerful gun, a very powerful mass-driven gun, and it's knocking my ship backwards. So there's that stuff to account for as well. You could have a ton of guns on the front of your ship, but there's no guarantee you can actually control it. So let's go visit this trader, shall we, and see another aspect of the game that will be shown later when we get back to the outer screens. In that, all of these missions have a trade post that you'll get access to at the end of the mission from the main screen if you complete the secondary objective as well. So let us get... There's a robust nano armor, doesn't seem that bad, or an ultralight fragment missile launcher. A lot of this stuff seems extremely good to have, but I'll buy this. And we shall escape. There are other things in this mission that we could do, like we could go open up some loot boxes, but those just contain other technologies we can acquire, which is not really that important for the purposes of this review. As overall, I'm finding this game very fun, but we do kind of have to show everything. And at the end of each mission, you get a little bit of a score time thing, like how much health your ship has remaining, how much time elapses, the total score you get from those missions is added up over time.
proxy map initialized.
Alright, the von Neumann are expanding their territory at an extreme rate, as we can see. Oh, hello there. We have the Interstellar Guard, and that mission is now available for us to access. In fact, all these missions we can just jump straight towards, I believe. We're not going to do that just yet. No. We're going to look at some purchasing. Like for this gambling station, we can actually purchase a random module, should we wish. Although I think we just got the exact same thing as before. In fact, let me check. Looking at the ship editing, we're going to go to weapons, as they have very good, like, reinforced versus robust. Actually, that is better. The robust master driver has more health, which is more important to someone like myself, who uses the front of his ship for all his combat, and this is the hyper-efficient energy absorber. Now, we're going to actually go back to the main menu, because, as I said, there's something I wanted to show off, in that there's other things in there, like as you acquire technologies, such as acquiring other variations on existing techs, you will have them unlocked in the hangar for you to use. And there's a system in the game already where if you don't already have a technology, it's more likely for you to receive new variations, new structures for you to use via golden boxes. For a brief second on the side of the screen in that previous mission, you might have noticed me fly by one. That golden box would have guaranteed dropped something I didn't already have. However, aside from that, there's also things such as the tutorial, which we skipped over because there's no reason for me to go through that. That is more for you to explore if you so choose to purchase this game. But there's also the other things like random generation mode, which randomly generates a sector for you to fly around in. Challenges, which has leaderboard challenges, but I won't bother because I'm not going to sit through another mission, as this is supposed to be somewhat quick. Endless mode, which is survive against waves of, I think, randomized enemies. And the evolution mode, which is kind of a form of, well, it is actually exactly what it is. Evolution. You choose a ship design as the base, determine how many variations in a population there are, and have all those ships compete against one another in a series of one-on-one duels, with the, I think, top 60% passing on their genes, the other 30% are cut out, and more variations are developed this way, with eventually the end result being that you'll get after enough generations are run through, you'll get a very, very decent ship, but it might not even look anything remotely like what you put inside, because hey, run an evolution enough times, and eventually a species will change. Aside from that, this already has link-ups to the Steam Workshop where you can upload and download other ship designs to mess around with in the hangar. Such as, download from the Steam Workshop. You can test your ships as well, which I could have done instead of going into a campaign mission, but campaign missions are also fun. Furthermore, there's other things in there, like other structures that allow you to just upgrade your existing devices to new statuses, like making them uber efficient or something similar. But aside from all that, Boss Constructor overall seems to be a very fun game. For those who are, for those who like optimization, for those who like becoming exceedingly efficient at destroying your enemies, for those who like building just really awesome stuff in a really good game engine, you could pick up Boss Constructor for $15, although currently it's half off, but that's not going to be around by the time this preview's gone up. Probably. Or by the time you've actually seen it. But for those who really like messing around with highly customizable games, Boss Constructor is definitely the game for you. And until then, hope you've all enjoyed watching this episode of Brainy Previews, and I'm signing off. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, comment, or subscribe, for it helps a great deal. And if you wish to purchase the game, I'll have a link to the Steam store in the description below. And farewell.